If we look at Horus, Necher Eket, or Horus, divine of body, we notice that he is the king who starts the third dynasty. We know him as Djoser. He built the first real pyramid in ancient Egyptian, and it was very tall. Something else that we need to know about him is that he waged wars or waged battles in the Sinai area in the Middle East, or the divider between the Middle East and Africa. Another thing we need to know about him is that he is said to have come from either Sudan or Lower Egypt because of a lot of similarities with those regions. Like other kings before him, he was the ruler of both Upper and Lower Egypt. When building his so-called step pyramid, we notice that these are not just basically four rectangles or four squares placed on top of each other, but instead they ramp out, meaning that they hold in place so that they don't fall on their own weight. It's not just like four bricks of smaller sizes being packed on each other. More than this, recent evidence makes us believe that the bricks used, at least some of them, on this step pyramid belong to a moat that was built around the step pyramid. And so if you looked at the step pyramid, it would have been at a high angle for people who are standing, at least in this moat. It's easy to talk about successes that happened in ancient Egypt, which is why it's interesting that from the time of Djoser, there's something called the famine stela, which is located in Upper Egypt, and it details a couple of droughts or a drought and the feelings of Djoser. Year 18 of Horus, Neterket, the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Neterket, two ladies, Neterket, Gold Horus, Djoser, under the Count Prince, governor of the domains of the south, chief of the Nubians in Yebu, Misr. There was brought to him this royal decree to let you know. I was in mourning on my throne. Those of the palace were in grief. My heart was in great affliction, because Happy had failed to come in time in a period of 7 years. Grain was scant, kernels were dried up, scarce was every kind of food. Every man robbed his twin. Those who entered did not go. Children cried, youngsters fell. The hearts of the old were grieving, legs drawn up. They hugged the ground, their arms clasped about them. Courtiers were needy, temples were shut, shrines covered with dust. Everyone was in distress. I directed my heart to turn to the past. I consulted one of the staff of the Ibis, the chief lector priest of Imhotep, son of Ptah, south of his wall, in which place is Happy born, which is the town of the sinuous one, which God dwells there, that he might join with me. He stood, I shall go to the mansion of the net. It is designed to support a man in his deeds. I shall enter the house of life, unroll the souls of Ra. I shall be guided by them. He departed. He returned to me quickly. He let me know the flow of Happy and all the things they contain. He disclosed to me the hidden wonders to which the ancestors had made their way, and no king had equaled them since. He said to me, there is a town in the midst of the deep, surrounded by Happy, Yebu, by name. It is the first of the first, First nome to Wawat, earthly elevation, celestial hill, seat of Ra. When he prepares to give life to every face, its temple's name is of life. Twin caverns is the water's name. They are the breasts that nourish all. It is the house of the sleep of happy. He grows young in it. In his time, it is the place whence he brings the flood. Bounding up, he copulates, as a man copulates with woman, renewing his manhood with joy. Coursing 28 cubits high, he passes Sema, Bedet, at 7. I think this is full proof, that Djoser comes from Nubia, as he is referred to as the chief of the Nubians of Yebu. Yebu is the Elephantine area, which is um, the nome of Taseti, and we know that Taseti is the land of the Nubians. And as we can see, there's multiple reference within this writing about the famine that makes it pretty obvious that that's what's happening. Now, there are other people in this dynasty. First, we start with Djoser, then we go with Djoser Teti or Teti, then we go with Nebka, and finally Huni. And as we know, Huni is one of the most African looking people, but it's not a surprise considering that the origin of these people would have been the Tasseti region. I'm not saying that the other parts of Egypt are not Nubian. Like I said, this guy went and colonized in the Sinai area, which tells you that Nubians could travel very far into Egypt and they were not trapped in the lower parts. Much like the step pyramid, the evidence is piling up. I want to go into the languages that that were foreign in ancient Egypt later, but I don't know if anyone is interested in this. The reason why I'm interested is because a lot of this area seems like a mess and it's hard to break free. Like the Hittites, you would think the Hittites were just another group near ancient Egypt, but it turns out they're not. Let me know in the comments.